Hi, Aries Sun and Rising. Welcome to your March 2023 Astro Update. It's Rena here. Well, this is it. This is the month that you may have heard multiple astrologers talking about. The month that everything is supposed to change. Well, we know that astrologically there are going to be some big changes. Whether it actually extends to your particular life. I don't want to kind of hype it on that level, but certainly for the collective, for our world, this might be that game changer of a month. And it is jam packed with a lot of important transits I'm going to mention, but I am also going to ask you if you are interested in the heavy hitters of these outer planets, Saturn and Pluto, that are going into new signs, which is really extraordinary because, they have Pluto has been in Capricorn for over 15 years and Saturn almost 3 years in Aquarius. And so for them to both change in the same month is indicative of change in general, like huge change. And then there's also the astrological new year, and that's when you have your solar return. As a group of Aries, your solar return will be when the sun goes to the degree of your natal sun or ascendant, which is going to be around your date of birth or around the degree, uh, you know, um, if you're looking for your rising sign, it will be on a specific date, but every year it can change, just, a day or so different. So let us begin. On the second of the month, we have Mercury going into Pisces. Oh, and this is interesting too, because I'm kind of a numbers person, and I'm going to be doing more numerology videos, I think, because I really do like numerology as well, but I just like numbers, and March is going to have some palindromes, meaning that if you do it back and forth, it's the same, like a date. The way that Americans write it, it's going to be the same. So we put the month and then the actual day and then the year. Um, on the second of the month, when Mercury goes into Pisces, it's 3 2. Well, those are the only numbers that are going to be in that particular date, 3 2 2023. So, but that's not a palindrome. I'm talking about the 23rd of March. That is the same backwards as it is forwards. But on the second, Mercury goes into Pisces, and for Aries people, this is your 12th house. And so this is one of those times when you might be very psychically active, and that simply means that you're picking up on things that you don't normally pick up on. Your dream state could be off the charts. You might not be that rational. I'm trying to think of a delicate way of putting it, but that's because the 12th house is a spiritual area. It's not meant to be like the opposite of that, which is a 6th house and is about, the Virgo type of stuff. So this is Pisces domain. And since you are the template of the universal chart, you're going to have it in your 12th house. And of course, the sun is there as well. So it's, and so is Neptune. So you've got a lot going on in that 12th house. And on the 7th of the month, Saturn is going to also join the party in the 12th. So this is one of those placements. I'm going to link a video that I did specifically on Saturn and Pluto changing signs so that I go more in depth on that. But just in a nutshell, Saturn going into the 12th house can be a time when you have to get your you know what together. And the 12th house can be some of that crap that you have been dealing with. Basically, the 12th house, in addition to being the house of karma, the house, of past lives and of your different, psychic experiences, including the dream state, but also, um, like spiritual levels of consciousness. This can be the area of unfinished business and addiction and um, other self defeating patterns. Okay. So, this is an area for Aries that might not be something that is really where you go to a lot, because Aries people rule the first house, not you're not the 12th house, you're the first house. And so you're always looking ahead. You're not looking behind into the past or past lives. Well, you might do it just out of curiosity, but it's not something that grabs you the way I think future plans would grab you, for instance. And so it's all the 12th house is also the house of contemplation, and that may not be your cup of tea either, because in order to contemplate, you have to be still. You've probably heard that phrase, be still and know. And that's, you can't really, kind of have things come to you if you're like in a frenzy. A lot of Aries people are hustle and bustle, and you're always doing something. So the 12th house is the monk house, the hermit house. So when Saturn is here for the next few years, this can discipline you to be able to sit your butt down and meditate. Or if you're doing hatha yoga, maybe you even make a career out of it, because Saturn rules the house of career. Saturn is the ruler of the 10th house of career in the sign of Capricorn. So that might be something that you take very seriously. And that would be good, because you do have Neptune there, and that can give you these cosmic experiences, or at least vibes. And so Saturn, even though Saturn and Neptune couldn't be more different, at least you have Saturn to organize this area that is very full of a lot of I wouldn't say necessarily chaos, but it's very about, a lot about dissolving, not about kind of protecting or borders or anything like that. On the very same day, there's a full moon at 16 degrees of Virgo in that opposite sign of Virgo and the opposite house. I think this is amazing. I don't know if anybody else, I don't know if any other astrologer thinks it's amazing. I certainly do, because, just because Saturn went into Pisces doesn't mean that that has to be the same day that there's a full moon in Virgo, even though, it would be sometime around this time that you would have a full moon in Virgo. There always has to be in either late February or during March a full moon in Virgo, but it just so happens to be the exact same day that Saturn goes into Pisces. So symbolically, how I see this is that, I mean, they're not forming a conjunction because it is at 16 degrees. Although at some point they did form, I mean, I said in a conjunction, I mean in opposition. When there's a full moon, the sun is opposing that moon. So the sun is at 16 degrees of Virgo at the time of that full moon in the 12th house. So, but 16 degrees, Saturn is at 0 degrees. I don't think Saturn is going to get more than 7 or 8 degrees of Pisces in 2023. So it's just starting out its transit there. So there isn't that sense of an opposition, but there is that sense of um, it being in the opposite house, and a full moon can bring something to your attention. Um, this can actually bring out something in your workplace because the sixth house can be your office space, your co-workers. It could be something about your co-workers. The 12th house can be hidden enemies. So with Saturn in the 12th, this could be the dark night of the soul. And I don't mean that in this kind of scary way. Really, what the dark night of the soul is when a person cannot escape any longer, can't, um, they're not easily amused. They can't distract themselves in the same way. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that for some signs, it may be easier for them to kind of accommodate the Saturn influence more than others. And so for Aries, because of the nature of your sign and how you tend to kind of always you're always active and doing something and looking ahead rather than looking behind, which, reflection is really about looking at what kind of actions you've taken. And reflection is a good thing. But sometimes Aries people probably think that reflecting is just kind of being stuck in the past. Well, I would disagree with that. So that full moon in the sixth house could sometimes indicate that you are leaving a job, or you could get a promotion. But I really feel that with Saturn in the 12th house, it's like a sense of taking your spiritual life seriously, maybe more than you have done so up to this date. The sixth house is practical. So it is about the day to day existence, and you may be giving that up for some reason. I would say because you are really immersing yourself in something spiritual. On the 16th, Venus goes into Taurus, into the well, for all of us this is great for money because Venus is ruled by Taurus. I mean, Venus rules Taurus, and it rules the second house of earned income where Taurus resides. So the issue of money and how we attract becomes it becomes easier when Venus is in its own sign. It's also very self-indulgent. It's something where you might be really getting into that vibe of maybe you're even buying something that is a luxury item, because that can happen. Especially if you have been attracting more money to you, you may buy something that is very expensive, not what you need, but what you want. And Gemini comes out of its shadow around this time on the 16th. And so Gemini, I've already talked about how long Gemini has been, Mars has been in Gemini. I'm sorry, I put Gemini comes out of its shadow. Mars and Gemini. And Mars has been in this third house for you for months. I mean, 7 to be exact, or over 7. It went into Gemini back on August 20th. So that is quite a long time for a planet that only takes about 6 weeks to go through one sign. So because of the retrograde in Gemini, that's why it was delayed. Now, in the third house, there might be some kind of a long-standing battle. Maybe since Mars went direct in January, well, that might have that might have reinstated it. Maybe while it was retrograding from late October until several weeks into January, that was kind of like a truce, and then you got back into it. You might have been warring with a neighbor, with your local area, community. So I'm thinking of somebody who's trying to maybe build a house or do something with that requires an ordinance, and they are fighting with the village or the city or the whatever town. And this could be a neighbor dispute. This could be siblings or other extended family members, that there is some kind of um, hostility there. Although it could be that you're just spending more time with them and you're active, you're doing things together. Um, on the 19th, Mercury goes into your sign. So this is really good for Aries people who need to promote themselves, because you may be trying to get a new job and you don't want to be like, your brain is in the 12th house talking about a past life you had in Greece. You want to be up to date, and really like expressing yourself in that Aries way that really showcases who you are. Um, it's also great for people who are dating because they can feel like they can really explain what they're all about more. On the 20th, the sun goes into Aries. That is the astrological new year that I was referring to. And this is your solar return period as a sign. But this is as the astrological new year. This kind of resets the clock for our next year, 2023 until 2024. What is going to happen to us? And sometimes you will see astrologers on YouTube who do videos on the upcoming year, and they're going by that um, kind of a template. And it's interesting too, because 3 years ago, right around this time, was when we had the shutdown. And so this is going to usher in a new cycle. You could say that the old cycle of Pluto in Capricorn is ending, which is that power structure that was really overdoing it and crumbling. That era is over with, and now we have this new astrological new year and soon to be new sign for Pluto. And for you, the the sun is going into your sign, so that's very revitalizing. But also the next day, there's a new moon at 0 degrees 50 minutes of Aries. So this is your new moon as well. Although I do believe that the new moon, and actually I would call it the solar eclipse that is occurring in your sign at 29 degrees. For the vast majority of you, that's the one you're going to feel as more of your new beginning, okay, for your particular sign. But it is almost at 0 degrees of Taurus. The reason I'm saying this is that this is at 0 degrees of Aries, so it's not going to form a conjunction with very many of you. As a matter of fact, it will be quite far apart from many of you, from most of you. So look to that one in April that's actually an eclipse, a solar eclipse, which is a very powerful new moon, for that feeling of, like being in the first house is what I'm trying to say here. But the interesting thing about this is that even if you do have the new moon in the 12th house, it can still be a time to really envision what you want, because even just with the sun, the astrological new year the day before, that is also a starting point. And this is a great time because we are still in this green light portal of all the planets being direct in March, where you have the permission from the universe to go forward with certain plans that could be something that could really take root um, quite easily because it's really supported by this planetary energy. So even though it's new beginnings in the 12th house, it could still have that influence for you that is going to shape your future. On the 23rd, we have Pluto going into Aquarius. This is huge, and this falls into your 11th house. But again, a lot of you, if you have brought up your chart, you may be using the unequal house system, and you may have this still in your 10th house. And so that could just be another example of you experiencing new beginnings, but I mean a trigger to your house of career because you just got done having Saturn transiting through here. So, this is the house of gains, the 11th house, and I'm not going to really talk about it too much because it really isn't going to manifest for a lot of you this year, simply because it is at 0 degrees. It's not going to go past 0 degrees. I don't know what the minute is that it's going to, go up to, but then it's going retrograde, and it's actually going back into Capricorn. So you're not done with that 10th house yet, but like I said, you might not be done either way. And so just look to career matters being turbocharged. If it's still in your 10th house, it's being turbocharged because it is the sense of Pluto, which is very much about obsession, about power. And it can be very powerful, but it can also be someone who needs to be on the up and up, because if you're not careful, you can have a fall from grace. The 10th house is your public reputation in addition to your career. So being very ethical, above board is super important. This, for the next 20 years, actually, it's going to be in Aquarius. On the 25th, Mars goes into Cancer. So finally leaving Gemini. And so this, for you, is that 4th house of home and family. So I was talking about getting those permits, building permits for renovation. This could certainly be like some kind of big house project. If you're getting work done on your home, this could be war within the family of origin, though, if there are some things that are not as they should be, because maybe you have been taking it long enough. And it feels funny saying that about Aries people, but for the sun signs of you who are Aries, you can have inner planets in Pisces. You could certainly have that if you are um, Aries rising as well. But in any case, that can lead to maybe you have been overly accommodating or generous to a fault with somebody who is exploiting you. And maybe you have to put your foot down for some reason. If you have been worrying with your neighbors about some kind of addition you're going to put on your home or type of work you're doing and they didn't like it or what have you, you may just go ahead with the project anyway. Sounds very Aryan to me. And maybe you're competing or bidding on a home, and kind of like other people are placing bids as well, and you're in that competitive mode for some reason. But yeah, or fighting with a parent, a mother or a father. Um, Remember that this does not mean that you're going to do that. It just means that there might be some source of irritation and you may be tempted to do that. It doesn't have to be something bad, though. Perhaps you are doing something around the house. Maybe you're exercising in your home and you've set up a gym or what have you, and you're just doing a lot of that right now. But that's what I have for you, Aries. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I'm promoting my double readings because they are, I would say, an exceptional value in terms of getting two full length readings as a package deal. They're both like hour-long readings. One is natal chart interpretation, and the other is um, some transits for the next 12 months that are affecting you in particular houses. That's called my deep dive. I also have a package deal with the tarot for those who like the tarot. And then I have standalone readings. You can find out more information at the link below. I'm at RainaMoonAstrology.com. I hope you have a great month and happy birthday to those of you born in March. Bye.